What's up, YouTube? It's time for a show review. Cannibal Corpse and Obituary at Paradise Rock Club in Boston, Thursday, February 18th. This fucking show could not have been better timing for me because I have been on this insane old school death metal kick. I've been listening to nothing but Possessed, the first four Death albums, Suffocation, Morbid Angel, Autopsy, and of course, Cannibal Corpse and Obituary. Again, this is perfect timing. I was incredibly excited for this show for weeks. The bill was rounded out by Cryptopsy and also Abysmal Dawn. Unfortunately, I had a ton of shit to do on Thursday, so I couldn't catch either band except for like the last two songs of Cryptopsy, which especially is a shame because I loved that last Abysmal Dawn record, Obsolescence. I thought it was incredible, so missing them was definitely a bummer. But the last couple songs of Cryptopsy's set that I did catch were pretty cool. It's not really a band that I was there to see. It's because they're a lot more techy and noodly than the brutal death metal, the straight brutal death metal show that I was there to see. But I was definitely appreciative of their abilities, and the crowd loved them, and they got a great reaction. They had a lot of energy, a lot of passion. So I have nothing bad to say about what I saw or heard, but we're here to talk about Cannibal Corpse and Obituary, two Florida death metal legends. So Obituary were up before Cannibal. Obituary is a very interesting band to me because, like, even though they're lumped into the death metal scene, and they're definitely a death metal band, don't get me wrong, they always sounded so much like a thrash band to me in comparison with their contemporaries. They're almost like, especially on like Slowly We Rot, they're like Exodus, but with much harsher vocals and those super sludgy breakdowns. And John Tardy's vocals are definitely closer to like a Chuck Schuldiner than a Glenn Benton from Deicide or a Chris Barnes or a George Corpsewriter. But nevertheless, it's been established that Obituary are death metal legends. It's crazy how at their merch table, they can still sell almost exclusively merch from those first three albums, from Slowly We Rot, Cause of Death, and End Complete. And they're still selling it. They're just that, those three albums are that cemented into the death metal pantheon that people will still buy merch from them. What is it now? Like 27 years later after Slowly We Rot. It's crazy. But they've earned it. And this 9-song set just did nothing to slow that down. So this was my first time seeing them live, and I gotta say, they're just as sinister in the live environment as they are on record. John Tardy's vocals actually sound better live. The thing that kind of slows them down is that a lot of their songs have super long instrumental breaks, which can get a little monotonous in death metal because the vocals are there to offset like just the constant chugga-chugga-chug. So when you have these long instrumental breaks, it can get a little monotonous, but nevertheless, there were some killer moments. Like the second song they played was Visions in My Head, which is definitely my favorite one off the new record, Inked in Blood. They played the song Dying in the middle of the set, which was just killer. If you heard the song, they nailed those punches in the beginning. Like those trademark death metal punches with the drums and the guitars and the bass and everything at once. What was impressive is that, I don't know if they might have been playing to a click, but a lot of times drummers will have to count the space in between with like a cymbal hit or something, but they just hit everything completely flawlessly, which was very impressive. What's crazy about Cause of Death is, like, to this day, that album is such a classic. They can play any track from it and it'll still get a massive reaction. This particular show, they did Dying, and they did, I believe, Finally Arise, and they definitely did Chopped in Half at the end there. It was awesome. For me, the highlight was definitely Till Death from Slowly We Rot, which is the hardest hitting. I absolutely love that ride groove, and when it kicks in, it's just absolutely crazy. They delivered a heavy, awesome set. I have no complaints about it, aside from just some of the songs kind of dragging just because of the way they're structured. But unfortunately, people were definitely there for Cannibal. You had like a small audience of real Obituary diehards that knew every track. I certainly knew most of them. But generally speaking, people were there to see Cannibal Corpse. So Cannibal hits the stage, and the first four songs, Evisceration Plague, The Time to Kill Is Now, Scourge of Iron, and Death Walking Terror. I mean, come on. Especially Scourge of Iron off the album Torture has to be one of the best death metal songs ever written. It just forces you, like the powers of metal just force you to headbang to that main groove. It's so fucking heavy. The thing that surprised me most about watching Cannibal, I thought it would just be craziness the whole time, which it was. But as a musician myself, I especially enjoyed just sitting there and watching. I was on Alex Webster and Rob Barrett's side of the stage, and I was just watching in awe of, like, one of the things that I certainly, when I was getting to metal, failed to understand about death metal was the incredible complexity, not just in the riffs, but in the song structures that a lot of times make no sense. You watch them play these songs just effortlessly through all these changes and crazy fast riffs, so, like, I was a little surprised at, like, how much I actually enjoyed watching them. You think of like going to a G3 tour or something as a show that you really wanted to sit there and watch musicianship, but I was just so impressed and just in awe of these two guys, really the whole band. But then the fifth song, they went into Stripped, Raped, and Strangled, the first of many classics, and it just went, if the audience was at a 10, it went to a fucking 20. It was madness. It was really good for me because it was one of those pits that was so big and so widespread that it forced me to get back in there, and I'm a little rusty. Like, the last really good mosh pit I was in was like Arch Enemy on the 2015 Summer Slaughter Tour, which now is like 7 months ago. So that was really great for me. You gotta watch it. I've been turning into a pussy, and this set me straight, which is really great. They played a block of 3 new songs in a row off their phenomenal last album, A Skeletal Domain. Definitely check that out. It's almost 2 years old now, but it's a really great album. 2 of them in particular are 2 of my favorite Cannibal Corpse songs of the Corpse Grinder era, that being Ice Pick Lobotomy and Killer Become. And definitely check at least those 2 songs out if you've like kind of wavered on your recent Cannibal Corpse albums, because they're definitely worth it. And then right after this block of songs, Corpse Grinder's just like, okay, now we're going to play some old shit. And the old shit was fucking Covered in Sores, Born in a Casket, and I Come Blood. Like, you can't get better than that in terms of a block of classic Chris Barnes era Cannibal Corpse, and the place just tore up as fucking expected. And finally, of course, we can't talk about the experience of being at a Cannibal Corpse show if we don't talk about Hammer Smash Face, which was actually the last song in the set list for me. I knew they would close with Devoured by Vermin, but I actually happened to really dislike the Violet album. I find it to be the most dull album in their catalog, so that was the perfect chance for me to make a beeline for the coat check and not have to sit in that abominable line. So, Hammer Smash Face, I understand that it's like the trademark song for the band. It's like, the Master of Puppets with Enter Sandman or whatever, but after 8 years of listening to it on record, the pit was everything I expected and hoped for it to be. You think that long of an anticipation, one song can't possibly fulfill that. Like, everybody has to have been introduced to Cannibal Corpse by that song, possibly by Make Them Suffer, because that was such a big song for like my generation. I was like 11 when that was out. I was like 12, I think. But that song delivered everything I expected. It was the highlight of the night. One of my most memorable mosh pits I have ever been in. Right up there with Exodus, Toxic Waltz, and Hatebreed, I Will Be Heard, and all the real monumental moments for me as a concert goer. So some overall concluding thoughts on both the show and Cannibal Corpse in general. It is really a shame. It has never been more apparent to me how overlooked Cannibal Corpse is as far as amazing musicians, because they just have this reputation for being so over the top, just the focus of so much controversy and so much mockery by people who don't really understand the gory, brutal death metal genre. But it has never been more apparent to me than sitting there and watching fucking 17, 18 songs of just completely precise, in the pocket playing from everybody. Corpse Grinder sounded amazing. His circle headbanging was amazing, which, like, damn, he really does that every night. You think, like, you watch DVDs, you think, okay, he just does that for the fucking DVDs, and he does that every night. It was awesome to watch. It really added to the atmosphere and the brutality of the band. They're just, like, they're completely, utterly brutal for the entire time in an almost beautiful, like, poetic way. For the entire set, I just felt like I was truly witnessing living legends, which as a music fan is just an incredible feeling. So if Cannibal Corpse comes to your area, go. I don't care if you're a death metal fan or not, go. Do your homework, know the song so it can be more fun for you, and I promise it will be an unforgettable concert experience. Death metal fan or not, it will likely convert you if you're on the fence, especially. Thanks for watching, and see you guys soon.